This is the Jimmy Anderson Show, the weekly report on Oregon State University basketball.
Hi everybody, I'm Bob Akamian along with the coach. Welcome to this week's edition of the Jimmy Anderson Show. And it's hard to believe we're halfway through the Pac-10 campaign already. A victory over Oregon ends the three-game losing streak and keeps you in that tie for second place in what is becoming a very interesting conference race.
Well, it looks like it's jammed now, but I think before the season's over it's even going to be more jammed because there's some teams right below us that are trying to get up a little higher. And so the middle race is really a rat race.
296 games between the Ducks and Beavers over the years, and you've been part of 100 of them, and they all drive you nuts, don't they?
Well, each one of them is kind of unique in itself because you really don't know what to expect. Some of them really high-geared, but most of them are hard-fought. One team can be favored, but they could lose, and vice versa. So it becomes a very edgy week for me, really, getting prepared and knowing that it's a very important game. This had, I think, even more merit on the victory for us because we're still in the hunt a little bit. So I know Oregon was anxious to get a win. They haven't won in the Pac-10 yet, so there was importance to the game, and both teams came to play.
And going in, you didn't buy any of this for the Pac-10 thing with the Ducks either, because they are close to breaking through.
Well, of course, you have to visualize how well they were playing early, especially at the Far West Classic, and so there's potential there, and it's just a matter of them to getting untracked and getting their confidence back. Right now, I'm hoping now that we don't play them for a long time again, that they get hot and start upsetting some of these other teams that are in the middle of the pack.
Yeah, we'll see the rematch coming up down the road, but let's start with round one of the Civil War battles for the '93 season. It happened Saturday afternoon at Gill Coliseum. There's Jerry Green, the new head man at the University of Oregon. Sellout crowd, Dad's weekend, a lot of noise in Gill. And OSU's pressure defense got to work early against Oregon. He got off to a nice start both the first and second half. Here's the first half, Scott Haskin inside, and now come the turnovers. You got the ball, 7 steals in the first half alone, and those turnovers turned into points.
Well, our defense in both halves was actually decent, but we didn't really capitalize on a lot of things. It seemed like we were playing better, but at halftime we were 1 point up, and we had to really accelerate our defense in the second half. But it was very close. Stottlemyre was very active for them, as was Williams, scored lots of points. Charlie McKinney had a nice game for us, as did Mustafa Hoff and Scott Haskins.
There you see the passing game, Strickland to Hoff to Scotty Haskin. 14-6 early on, an 8-point game. Now the Ducks get to work. Orlando Williams, one of the Portland kids, gets to the line, 3-point play, and this gets Oregon going.
Well, sometimes it's hard. We kept saying play him to the left, and he's still strong enough to go to his left, which he did and scored 2.
And here's the always scary Antoine Stottlemyre, number 3. He's had huge games against the Beavers last year, averaged over 30 a game, and he kept him in it on this one too.
Yes, he had very prolific scoring in the first half. Second half, our defense was better on him. We drove him to the basket, and Scott Haskins was there waiting, and so the second half was the key half for us, especially defensively.
So Scott Haskins get in there for the 3-point play, and now Mustafa Hoff to Chad Scott. That gets the lead back up to 8, but again, that man's coming again. Number 3, Stottlemyre will take it and take it in himself.
Well, those are the easy ones. Those are the ones you create with defense, and they got several of them. When we got ahead, it seemed like they always made a surge to come back. And then in the latter part of the game, they started to press and trap, and we got careless with the ball, and that got them back in the game in the second half.
Saw Kevin Harris block a shot there from Aaron Johnson. There's the break. Stottlemyre follows it up. Down to a 3-point game here. Now we'll see a play where Scotty Haskin gets a real nice putback, but does not get credit for the hoop.
Like he might have got shoved a little bit, lost his balance in traveling.
Another turnover and another hoop for the Beavers. This time Chad Scott will be on the end of this one. Still a 5-point game, 28-23. But back on the other end, watch Stottlemyre's athleticism. Fife will miss the free throw, and guess who? That makes it now a 4-point game at 33-29. More good ball movement here will set up Chad Scott for a hoop.
Well, see here, they're in their trap right now. We moved the ball very well and got it to the open man, into the middle and down deep.
Chief gets credit for the assist. It's 37-33, but Aaron Johnson will get a hoop, and they'll hit one more free throw, and it gets down to a 1-point game at halftime, 37-36. And the first half, definitely, there were many points where the Beavers could have been in control, but not quite there at the break. Take a look at the numbers. Ducks shot the ball very well. Beavers 4 out of 6 from three-point range. Oregon up on the boards. The turnovers very even. Both teams throwing the ball around. Your top scorers at the half, Haskin had 14. Stoudemire had 16. So it's a game as you go to the locker room, and again, you knew it was going to be.
Well, no question, it was a game, and when you're shooting 65%, that says two things. You're either shooting shots that you're getting open, and the defense is letting you do some things that you want to do offensively. So I'm saying our defense was poor, and they took advantage of it.
A lot of that high percentage stuff. When we come back, we'll have the second half highlights, Civil War Round 1. More when we come back on The Jimmy Anderson Show. (37-36) the score at halftime. Too close for comfort, but again, you get a good surge at the start of the second half, and any team likes to be able to come out and score right away.
Well, we knew that we weren't doing a good job defensively, so that was our main point of emphasis. We didn't panic in any way, but we knew the Ducks were going to be tough, that they were going to play hard, and if we didn't play defense, they could shoot it. So second half, more resolve on our part to play tougher defense.
All right, let's roll them. Second half highlights. It starts out with a 12-3 Beaver run against the University of Oregon. Let's talk a little bit about Scott Haskin's game, because he had been contained a bit offensively in recent weeks, and it was nice to see Scotty bust out and score some points.
Well, he's playing a lot stronger on the inside, and we were able to get the ball to him, and when we do, we're effective. He was passing the ball better out of the middle, too, and he got several assists, and that helped us also.
Nice drive by Charlie McKinney, makes it a 6-point game. And the three-pointers were going, so who's going to take one? How about Chad Scott from the left? Bingo, 45-38. And it's going to be Scotty one more time, and you get out to a 9-point lead now, 47-38, early second half.
Well, he's gone to his turnaround jump shot a little bit more. He was hooking on almost all his move, and I think he feels comfortable with his jumper right now. And 11 for 16, it really did help us.
Well, you saw block number 153 of the career, and then after Stoudemire and Johnson team up, block number 154. The record continues to grow, and here it is. See ya.
Well, we'd like to see him get. We hate to see the offense get that close to the basket, but when they do, we'd like to see them get 5 or 6 of those slams and also those knockbacks.
There's Scotty at the other end on his way to 32, and we get another one of those turnarounds here. Bingo. 65-52 now at this point, and now we get down inside the 5-minute mark. The Chiefs going to score. You got a 15-point lead, 3:55 to go, and it looks like it's in the bag.
Well, it looked like it, and I think everybody felt comfortable at this point, but they started to trap and press full court, and we certainly did help their cause. We coughed it up quite a few times.
Now here they come. Stoudemire makes it 72-63. Now the turnover, all kinds of pressure, and they do this well. This is something Jerry likes to teach down in Eugene. Orlando Williams makes it 78-67. Need to make some free throws here. Pat Strickland's going to do it. Down the stretch, you got the free throw touchback too this week. He had 10 out of 12 at the line in the last 4 minutes.
Well, Pat missed 4 in a row, and that's not like him. He missed 2 in the last game and 2 to start this game, and so I think he was pretty mad at himself, and he settled down and hit some key free throws. And Brent came in for a few seconds and hit a couple also.
I know that got the crowd really excited. Brent Berry back in action for the first time after missing 3 games outright. And well, a chance to put a little bigger guy in there to beat the press. Got him on the line. He hit a couple of free throws. And that was it, 83-75, the final. I don't know if you hadn't really planned on playing Brent in any one place, but that turned out to be an opportune time in the final minute.
Well, you can see right there again, we were still floundering around against their pressure. And Brent does a very nice job throwing the ball over the top of traps, so that's what we were looking for.
That's it. Got those long arms out there. Makes a big difference. There's your final numbers. As you see, Oregon's shooting cooled off quite a bit in the second half. 3-pointers big in this game. 7 of 11 free throw shooting better. Still don't want to miss 10. Scotty ends up 32 points, 7 boards, 2 more block shots. Charlie McKinney, 4 out of 5 from 3-point range. And Stoudemire, I guess, held down for him in this series. Ends up with 25 points and 8 boards. So you get the win, get to the midway point of the season, and just getting the win right now was big, obviously, to end the losing streak.
Well, I also like to add, I think Pat Strickland did a nice job for us. Mustafa Hoff had 10 points and 10 rebounds, and that's always nice to get double figures in the rebounds. So we got contribution from everybody that did play.
Another great quiet game from the Chief. We look ahead now to our next segment. We'll take a look at the Pac-10 standings, set you up for the second half of the season, and we'll meet with Brent Berry. He'll be back in the lineup this week. The Jimmy Anderson Show will continue. Brent Berry will be with us in a moment, but first let's take a look at the Pac-10 standings now that we've reached the midway point of the conference season. And Coach, looks like the guys on top are in pretty good shape, but it gets pretty interesting out of that. You're tied right now with the Cougars and the Sun Devils, two teams that have already beaten you once, so you need to return the favor here in the second half.
Well, we'd like to win the rest of our games. Starting with the Oregon game, the magic number was 10, so now we're down to 9. And we're going to go down to the Los Angeles areas and give it a good shot down there.
And you talk about teams coming up. I think the Huskies now are lurking as a dangerous team, and Cal may have some of the best talent, and if they can get it together here, they've got to make a charge down the stretch. And UCLA, I don't think, is just going to disappear.
Well, it's an interesting weekend. We've got our work cut out for us, but the Arizona schools are going up and face two hot teams in Washington, so who knows what might happen there.
That's right. Those teams back home, back-to-back,
Right.
and boy, I'll tell you, in Pullman, they got to be going crazy right now over some of those games the Cougars have been involved in. Well, let's meet our guest this week. Brent Berry is with us. Nice to have you back off the DL, and I understand you're what, darn near cleared for 100% action. What percentage would you give yourself right now?
I'd say I'm probably about 90% right now, and still getting some things done on my calf, and hopefully by Thursday I'll be ready to go.
And Coach, do you concur with that? You're going to let him play a little bit this week?
I'm going to let him play all he wants.
Good.
As long as he's playing well, he can just take over and do what he wants to do.
I know the big thing, the way you play the game out there, you're so active. You've been concerned mostly with your conditioning. You want to be able to go out and be just as strong as you've always been.
Certainly, after you miss 2 weeks of the season and 2 weeks of practice, especially with how hard we work in practice, you're going to get out of shape, and that's what I'm really most concerned with right now, is that I get back in shape and I'm ready to play a lot of minutes for this team.
We're taking a look at you here as you come in against the Ducks here for the big minute down the stretch. Were you prepared to play in this game last week?
I was willing to play. I told Coach that I still wasn't 100%, and I don't think that I really needed to be on the floor. But towards the end of the ball game, when it got a little close, Coach put me in, and I felt comfortable out there. And obviously, going to the line, hitting a couple of free throws is not a problem for me.
All your numbers have been up this year, and the big one is the free throws, up to 84%. You were 67% a year ago. Just getting the feel of it in the college game?
Yeah, well, I think last year was tough. I was shooting maybe one attempt for every 4 games, and when you go 0 for 1 or 1 for 2 in a game and then don't shoot for a couple games, your percentage is going to drop. So unfortunately, I was a victim of circumstance last year, but this year I've had a lot more attempts, and so I've been able to hit a few more.
Just talk about your game. Again, you seem to have made improvements all the way around, and Coach has really given you the reins of this team. Is that the big thing you've needed, is just the time?
No, I mean, I'm still really frustrated with the way the first half of the season has gone for me personally. I'm happy that the team has gotten a couple big wins and that we're in the position that we're in right now. But as far as for myself, I'm still really frustrated that I haven't been as consistent as I'd like to be. And Coach talks to me a lot about just being a consistent player out on the floor. I think my leadership has stepped up this year, which I'm happy with and have no problems with. But consistency is still the big factor in my game that I'd like to work on. And when the summer months come up, that'll be something that I will do.
You know, Bob, when you have a young man that has talent and intelligence and lots of potential, you put a lot of pressure on him to do everything in the game. He can't be one dimension. He has to give leadership, he has to play defense, he has to get assists, he's got to get rebounds, he's got to be a stopper on defense. So we make lots of demands on him. It's not just, hey, you go out there and just do this one thing. There's lots of work to be done, and if you got the talent, I don't care whether you're a freshman or sophomore, you're going to be called on to perform.
And that's kind of been the history of this program, too.
Well, that's the way he plays for us, and that's why it was he's so valuable in regards to his loss. We lose 3 games, and he does so many things. He gets the assists, he gets loose balls, he'll take a charge, he'll do so many subtle things too that when you lose somebody of that caliber, you're losing statistics overall, not just an assist or a score.
I see the Berry family, you still got 5 of you involved in basketball right now. Drew at Georgia Tech, John with the Bucks, got to see him earlier this year. Scooter, you're saying, is now getting back into the CBA. And of course, Dad's coaching in the CBA at Fort Wayne. We used to see a lot of Rick Berry here last year, but he's pretty busy. Does the family get to keep in touch at all?
Yeah, he's busy, so he hasn't been up. But I talked to Drew last night for a long time. They got a big game coming up with Duke. It'll be the first time we'll get to play in Cameron, so I was kind of getting on them a little bit about that. And they've been struggling, so I like to nudge him a little bit about that. And he's been inserted in the starting lineup there, so I'm really happy that he's worked hard and earned that. I'm sure Coach Kremens has a lot of respect for the way Drew plays. And John's just pretty much riding the pine for Milwaukee, but I think he figures in their plans next year. So basketball is still alive in our family.
And is there really time for there to be competition between all of you? Because you're all out doing your own thing at the same time.
I'll tell you about the thing we like to do is when we all get home for the summer, if we happen to be home at the same time, we like to go out and really, instead of playing against each other, we like to get on the same team and wreak havoc kind of down at the local gym. So we get the 4 guards out there and we all play together, and hopefully we'll destroy some teams in open gym. So we play together a lot.
You know, Bob, too, I'd like to mention, you know, the best of the lot is his mom, Pam. I mean, she's...
That's what I hear, yeah.
She's really a beautiful lady. She had us to her house when we were down in the Bay Area, the entire team, and she's a wonderful cook, wonderful mother. I know you put up with brats like this, you know, you've got to be all right.
Yeah, and my stepfather, Bill Conley, got up this past weekend and got a taste of the Civil War, and he really had a nice time up here and really enjoyed the people in the community, and looking forward to coming back up.
We'll have to keep bringing up. You've got a good record with them around because, of course, that was you were in the Bay Area the day before the Cal victory and then the win with the Civil War. So we'll keep bringing your family into town and win some games.
We'll either do that or we'll keep going down to my house when we go down to Cal and Stanford and get at least a decent meal.
There you go. Sounds like a plan. Brent, thanks for coming by, and we'll look forward to seeing you back this week.
Thanks.
When we come back, we will preview the trip to L.A., SC and UCLA. More when the Jimmy Anderson Show continues. Well, the Pac-10 basketball weekend starts at Pauley Pavilion on Thursday night with a visit to UCLA and then SC coming up Saturday at the Sports Arena. Let's talk about Southern Cal first. Had a rather entertaining game with them here. Strange in that they dominate on the boards. They don't really have that much more size, but you end up coming from behind to win the game and you crank the offense up.
Well, we had size on them, but they have great athletes. So a lot of times it's not how tall you are, it's how tall you play. And so his athletes can jump high, they can move quick, they got great speed at the guard spot and some good athletes on the inside.
And the guy we love to watch is Lorenzo Orr, and they bring him off the bench and he comes in and makes all kinds of trouble.
Well, he's Mr. Instant Production because when he comes in, he immediately does something positive. He either scores or gets a rebound, checks a shot. So he's one that we have to contend with, and he's not easy.
Well, Southern Cal, of course, lost both their games up in the Palouse and in Seattle over the weekend. They're now 4-5 in conference, 11-7 overall. First time around, the Beavers beat them 68-57. That was on January 14th back at Gill Coliseum. Need a scouting report on these guys before we go to L.A.? Let's get it now from assistant coach Larry Harris.
This is a play that USC likes to run. They like getting Hackett open for the three. And the way they do it is they have Harris bring the ball and swing it to Glenn. As that's done, the two big men set screens for Hackett coming through. Then he comes and looks for the three with Glenn feeding him. If that's not open, then what happens is the big guy screen across, this guy Flasson trying to look to post him up. If Orr's in the game and he's the guy that screens across, then Harris gets involved in trying to get him open, getting him the ball up at the foul line and going one-on-one. What we're going to try to do is obviously piggyback number 10 through, and as he catches the ball, be there to defend him as he catches it, and defend with our big guy coming to the middle and catching 42 as he comes. And when Orr comes, we want to slide through here and get open and contest this so that he doesn't catch the ball. If we can do that, I'm sure we'll defend this play, which we did very well the last game we played.
That was the case. Now, what is this man all excited about? That's Kelvin Sampson, of course, the Cougar head coach. We're taking you back to last weekend. UCLA and Washington State in this crazy sequence at the end of the first half. This all starts when nobody can remember if the shot clock was reset or not after that missed shot. It clearly hit the rim, should have been a reset. But after the Cougars get fouled here in the final second, Jim Herrick, the UCLA coach, does some little bit of lobbying with the officials, gets a free throw wiped off the board, and UCLA got the ball back. And this could have been a huge turnaround of this game, but the Cougars did eventually win.
Well, I think they estimated as what they took away and what happened. There could have been a 10-point swing in this particular instant. But they're conferring there now. They all three officials made a mistake because there's no question. He hit the backboard, hit the rim. So that means it's a reset, and all of a sudden there's lots of confusion.
And there it is. Little Edney takes it down there and scores, and that got UCLA back in it at the half. I guess fortunately it didn't make a difference. Kelvin, though, got himself in a little trouble here as they went off to the locker room. But UCLA goes 0 for Washington. There's a lot of heat on Jim Herrick down there. They're 14-7 overall. Bruins 4-5 in conference play. And again, they have so much talent on that team. I can't think that they're just going to fold the tent.
Well, there's no question in my mind. I know most of them through high school and through recruiting, and they're good people, and they're going to come back and they're going to resurface. They just have too much talent. Right now, the pressure's on because they've had a little dip. Of course, Washington State and Washington are playing excellent basketball, so it's not like it's unusual that they lost on that road trip. The SC lost too, and they were playing good basketball. So it's just a tough conference, as we're all finding out. The only trouble is, if we could have beat Arizona, that would have made it us a little higher, and we just couldn't slip through there. And that's the one that really hurt right now for all of us to have a chance at Arizona.
Well, if ifs and buts were
Yes.
candy and nuts. We know that story. Yeah. Well, we got the big trip to L.A. coming up. The Washington School is coming in next week. It's just starting to get exciting. Join us next time, won't you, for the Jimmy Anderson Show.
This is the Jimmy Anderson Show, the weekly report on Oregon State University basketball.
Hi, everybody. I'm Bob Akamian, along with the coach. Welcome to this week's edition of the Jimmy Anderson Show. We're talking Oregon State University basketball, a tough weekend down in Los Angeles. And you forget how well the team played on Thursday night at UCLA. When you still get that L, all the good things kind of go out of your mind, don't they?
Well, it certainly deflates you, and it's very hard, really, to get it out of your mind because you're so close. And a year ago, it was almost like that, too. We were in overtime, double overtime, and all of a sudden we lose the game, and it's just a very empty feeling. And, of course, we needed this game very badly. The UCLA game would have put us in a very fine position to finish in the upper division. And you win and you lose with a three-point shot and lose by one. it's kind of tough to take.
You're at 6-5 now in the conference, 10-10 overall, and I know at this point of the season you got to go out and say, well, we're just going to try to win them all.
Well, that's what you're trying to say from day one, but we all know realistically you can't do that. But right now, the upcoming games here in Corvallis are very pivotal for us if we want to stay in that upper division. There's a real cluster of teams. The Washington State, our first opponent, is in that cluster, and there's a lot of big games coming up throughout the conference race. I think it's going to go right down to the last game of the season to see who's in second and third.
The one sure thing, Arizona's there, but after that, who knows?
A lot of space between the next teams. They get Arizona State at home this week themselves, so they can better their situation by knocking them down a peg. We can better our position by winning our game, so the race is still open for NCAA entries, NIT entries, and that's what we're all working for.
Well, before we look ahead, let's take a look back at this past weekend's action. We'll start Thursday night, a very, very exciting basketball game at Pauley Pavilion. Brent Berry back in the starting lineup as the Beavers took on UCLA. And Brent put on a great show. There's Rick Adelman, Trailblazer coach, down there the night before the Blazers played the Clippers. An exciting game, and Brent just put on a show with his passing.
Well, it was a good game for us, actually, from start to finish. We just didn't get the defense done on the last play, and that's what really hurt us. But Brent had 10 assists. I think we played an excellent defensive game, and we were running the floor, as you see, and Brent did a nice job leading us.
Now get a look at one here, and this one does not lead to a basket, but it's so nice. You get to see it again as he goes between the legs for Chad Scott.
Would have been nice to have that a three-point play and have it at the end. And we have some problems sometimes finishing when we have advantages.
Brent had 10 assists in this game to go with his 11 points, and he lit a couple up from the outside, gets you to a 2-point lead here early on. It's 23-21 after this three.
Well, he probably had his best game of the year, and we had all kinds of performers defensively, especially. But we were passing the ball well, running the floor well. Our defense was I think, very good throughout. We had a little problem when they went into a zone, turned it over a few times, and that gave them a lead in the second half. But then we settled down, and it was close all the way to the end.
All right, you see Scott Haskin, one of his 5 blocks this weekend. Chad Scott inside, and that's a very nice 7-point lead at halftime, 41-34. Getting to the second half, there's Brent again finding Scott Haskin. Haskin very active in this game, and you see where Scott is, where he got nailed on the chin by this elbow, and that rang his bell pretty good.
Well, he's still having problems with that, and after seeing it, it's amazing that they call that a foul on him, because he had very, very good position, and all of a sudden, bam, he's out of the game. It changed the complexion of the game the time he was out. It was a real big play for us.
And now we see UCLA in that zone. They get some turnovers out of it, and teams have gone after you with the zone this year.
Well, you have to handle the ball very aggressively in the middle of the zone. And in a situation when you get stripped and they get their break on, they run very well out of their zone, and it did hurt us for a time.
Little man Edney made some big things happen, and there's Sean Tarver, who was their leading scorer, gets inside, draws the foul. UCLA gets ahead in the final 6 minutes of the game. They go up by 8 points here as O'Bannon comes in here for the layup, and now Ed O'Bannon, arguably the best player in the Pac-10 this year, will go in for the jam. And getting late, UCLA has the lead, but the Beavers are not done yet, and Brent gets it started.
Well, here's the zone, and we started to pick it apart. In some ways, they probably stayed in it too long because we were starting to use the clock on them a little bit also, and all of a sudden it ends up our favor, and it looked like we had a game won, and then all of a sudden it's gone.
Now here we go. We're getting down to crunch time, less than a minute to go. There's Brent again for the 3, and you got the lead now by 2 points at 75-73. Now seconds later, UCLA has turned the ball over. McKinney on the free throw line misses the 1-and-1, and here it sets up their go-ahead basket.
See, you don't realize it, but Brent Berry comes off Sean Tarver to try to put a little extra pressure on Edney, and Edney's clever enough to find him over on the sideline, and that's basically what happened.
I mean, here's the last opportunity for Oregon State, and this was not a bad shot that you end up with considering the circumstances. You get a break when that inbounds pass is deflected, so you have 2 seconds, and you got the ball to Scotty where he could do something with it.
just lost his balance a little bit, got shoved a little bit, but not enough for a foul, and the game's over.
So 76-75, a great basketball game, but all the tougher to lose when it's on the road and against one of your big rivals. Look at some of the numbers from this game. Oregon State active from three-point range, good rebounding effort, pretty even up. Look at the individual scoring now from this game. We see Scott Haskin, 24 points and 13 rebounds. Brent, 11 and 10. Sean Tarver, 21 points, and it was those last three that made the difference. And it's amazing how it comes down to something as simple as that. Brent wants to help out. He ended up with three guys on the ball, and Tarver was left open.
Yeah, and there's no question about it. Scott Haskin did a tremendous job getting in over there and
Just stepping out, yeah.
And putting some pressure, and he just had to arch it a little higher and hit nothing but net. It's just a real killer, and that really deflated us, because here we thinking we're going to have a win, then we go into Saturday's game against USC, and there's a lot of depression because it was such a big game for us.
Well, when we come back, we'll take a look at Saturday's effort against the Trojans as the Jimmy Anderson Show continues. Well, we were just talking about this. Go to Southern Cal, and everyone's saying after Thursday night, hey, we got to put this game aside. We're going to get back to business, and we got to get our heads up. But it's hard. It's easier said than done, isn't it?
Well, we work very hard at keeping our attitudes positive, to work on the necessary things to make corrections of the game we lost to UCLA. But the main focus then was USC, because it's a big game for the second spot, and they're right there with us. So we worked hard. The start of the SC game was a real demoralizing part, because all of a sudden we get Scott Haskin in dire foul trouble, and that just added to the depression, because it was kind of like, yeah, we're ready to play. This is a must-win, and all of a sudden 3 quick fouls in 3 minutes, and you can just see our players get deflated.
Talk about Scotty's foul situation. He gets 2 fouls in the first 2 minutes of the game, then that third one, you got to set him down after that. Teams obviously are gunning for him, trying to get him in foul trouble. Can you do anything to avoid that going into a game?
Well, you can bring it to his attention, and you hope that the Booker Turner, ahead of the officials, is aware of the fact that every team we play is ployed. Their game plan is to go quickly at Scott with the ball, so he's playing defense, and then they're doing a lot of faking. They just, it's almost like they're working for Oscars nominations as to, if you just get touched, the guy acts like he's got a broken neck and he falls on the floor. And if the officials aren't aware of the fact that it's big acts, a lot of it, then all of a sudden you can get 3 quick fouls in 3 quick minutes.
Well, that's what happened. Let's roll them Saturday afternoon at the Sports Arena, the Beavers and Southern Cal. Scott Haskin, the center of attention in this game, got a few block shots. I don't know how he got 3 block shots playing only 9 minutes, but Scotty was a force early on, and this sets up Brent Berry inside. It's always a battle with SC because they're so physical and active and really make you work for it. But we're going to see Scotty's 3rd foul coming up here against Orr. And this is, again, very early at the 16:33 mark.
See, that's ridiculous. I mean, you look at that and you can run it back for 1,000 different angles, and if that is a foul, I'll do you know what.
Well, here's 2 of the angles right here. We'll get it from down low, too.
I mean, he's one of our premier players. He already has, I mean, he's not a dirty player. He's not an aggressive player. People brutalize him from top to bottom, and they call a foul like that on him, and he plays a total of 8-9 minutes in a game like this. Somebody should say something.
Kareem Anderson off the bench picks up some slack. Charlie McKinney gets a couple of hoops. And this guy, Lorenzo Orr, goes wild. We liked what we saw him when they were up here the first time, and he continues to be very active. But after Charlie's hoop, the big run starts for SC. They score the last 17 of the first half.
That was a big difference. Once they started to hit and run the floor, we didn't get back, and they got easy hoops such as this, and you could just see that the game was out of hand, and we couldn't put Scotty back in, and all of a sudden they're up by 20-some points going into halftime. But we resurfaced in the second half, gave them a run for it, and ended up losing by just a few points.
Now Hackett hits a couple of the trays there, and then Boyd following up the shot, making it a 40-18 game at halftime. This isn't the best call of the game either. 40-18 at halftime. SC scores 17 in a row, and they get the first 2 of the second half to go ahead by 24 points. Well, Haskins back in the game now to start the half, and Brent will find him. And remarkably, the offense continues to click. It's been a long time with him out of there.
Yeah, it's been a long time without him.
16 minutes. Now here's his 3rd block of the game. And Scotty continues to be the all-time block shot leader at OSU, but right after this block shot, here's number 4, offensive foul.
I didn't see that, so it's hard to know.
And we'll see Brent now find Chad Scott. Gets it down to 17 now at 48-31 of a 3-point play. And here's the 5th foul. George Raveling says the key is this elbow. But obviously they made a big deal of saying watch his elbows because he gets nailed on the same one for number 5.
Well, see, you're allowed to have normal defensive position, and that's with your elbows out. That's normal position. You're not allowed to move from the elbow to your fingers and push. So in a way, he actually has a right to that position, whether they want to call it shoving or not. They did, and he was gone.
All right, 14.5 minutes to go. Scott is out of the game. And now it's time for the bench to make some things happen. They continue to play with them, keeping the score even up. In fact, you shorten the margin by the end of the game. Get David Brown in there for his, I think, his first major action of the conference season.
David played very well. In fact, if there was an MVP on our side, he'd probably get it because he played very steady, kept us organized, and did a nice job.
Had 6 points coming off the bench, and there's your final. SC wins 69-60. You see the numbers: shooting, not the best; rebounding, second time this year SC has really cleaned the boards.
Yeah, they're very quick, they're very strong, they have great athletes, and they did a nice job. Even though the foul question still lingers with us, they played an excellent game, and it shouldn't detract from that win.
And you see Orr's numbers. He was outstanding, 17 points and 13 rebounds. So now it's time to come back home. One of the big road trips of the year is over, and when we come back, we're going to take a break from basketball and take a look at a blast from the past, if you will. Some former Beavers who still play together in Portland City League. You know, people always want to know what happened to former Oregon State athletes, and we're happy to say that a lot of them play together on one basketball team now. It's pretty unusual.
Well, it is unusual to have so many of actually one team that went through a very good period at Oregon State, all playing for the same outfit in Portland, and they're really having fun doing it.
Well, this week we're happy to bring you a feature on Stark Street Pizza, a City League team that's made up of the great, and I mean the great names from what may have been Ralph Miller's greatest OSU team of the early 80s. Let's meet them now.
Yeah, it's really amazing that so many of us have stayed around the Portland area where we all work so that we can play together. And I've only been a part of it for 2 years, but it's been a real pleasure to get back with these guys and get together and once a week and play some basketball.
Oh, definitely it takes you back to the past. You know, these guys, we all played together in college, and some of these guys we played against each other in high school. So it takes you in the past, and when we're playing basketball, you see some of the brilliance that was there 10, 15 years ago, but gotten a little older, a little slower.
They've been together for 5 or 6, 7 years now, and each year we seem to add another ex-alumni, and it's just that much more fun.
The memories come rolling back as you watch the men of Stark Street Pizza take the court for a Portland City League game at Benson High School. The backbone of Ralph Miller's greatest squad together again. Charlie Sitton, Mark Radford, Jeff Stout, Ray Bloom all spend their Wednesday nights making new memories with their old teammates. But tonight the OSU legends are a little short-handed. Only 5 show up to face a pretty tough Ashbrook Bakery team. That means everyone on the floor in red will have to play the full 40 minutes.
Whatever we do, let's do it 3 quarters. Because we want to be in the ball game second half with only 5 guys. So we can go man or zone, but only go like 3 quarters deep.
The veteran of this group is Ricky Lee. We're not sure of his exact age, and he's not telling. We do know Ricky was a senior in 1978, when most of his group were still freshmen. The Bakery boys take the early lead. Of course, they have a bench to fall back on. The Pizza Kings don't have anyone available on their sideline. Still, when Ray Bloom buries the three-pointer, Stark Street is back on top by 5 at halftime.
You know, I play limited minutes with these guys. You know, that's really my role. I've always been a role player.
And now your role is to play every minute tonight, right?
My role tonight is to get tired, which I am.
It doesn't matter if some of these guys played for a college team that won 26 in a row and was ranked #1 in the country. That was 12 years ago. Now, everyone gets tired in the second half. Rob Holbrook keeps Stark Street in the game with some long-distance action, but Ashbrook prevails. Stark Street Pizza takes its first league loss of the season, 101-86.
I survived. That's my only comment.
No one passed out there, so that's good.
But now, Coach Miller would never have put up with all that.
Oh no, never.
Your bucks would have been here, right?
He would have just said, keep up the effort. No excuses out there. 5 guys or not.
Now it's all about these guys. This is what the fun is. I mean, it's a little bit of basketball and a whole bunch of pizza and beer afterwards out at Stark Street, who is the good sponsor, and he's been with us for 8 years and never has let us down. So it's been a lot of fun.
A lot of guys you recruited there, too. It's good to see you recruited some guys with stamina who can still play in their 30s.
Well, you know, it shows a couple things, that life does go on, and there is an aging process. Good to see Ricky Lee there, and you know, Tim Sim played for Oregon State in basketball too for a year, maybe almost a year and a half. So he has some Beaver blood on the court also. But it's too bad Charlie and Steve Johnson and Bill McShane and Stout and a lot of the other players weren't there.
That's right, but they're on and off on a regular basis. But see, I guess you grow up, you all have a life too. You have to go out and take care of kids and do your job and all that stuff too.
Yeah, you have to make a living in between this real pro game that they're playing there, right?
That's right. Fun to see those guys again. Let's talk about a bit about the Pac-10 right now and the situation in California. Lou Campanelli abruptly let go in the middle of the season. And very unusual in college basketball because you don't have that pipeline to turn a team around. Just as a coach, how distressing is that to see a decision made as quickly as that?
Well, you hate to see a precedent set like that because he's a very ethical coach and he's a good friend and he's well respected by his coaching fraternity all through the country. So it is unusual for anybody to do this at this time. We aren't there on a daily basis, as is quite evident, but you know, outward appearances seems like this is very unfair.
That's right. A very talented Cal team, too. It has a lot of future.
Well,
to it.
he's recruited good players there. They're considered to have the best crop of young players on the West Coast, maybe in the country. And he's given them national recognition. He's done very well, got them into tournament play. Whether it's their personality problems on the teams or whatever, it just seems too severe at this point for somebody to be dismissed and fired during the middle of the season.
And a very nice thought, I know, coming your way into the program this week, we all read about it in the sporting news. You sent a nice note to the University of Iowa following the untimely death of Chris Street, and I know that meant a lot to Tom Davis and his staff there.
Well, the idea was to let them know that other people may have gone through similar circumstances, and if we can give a little word of advice and along with condolences and let them know that other players and other coaches care about them, sometimes it does help.
When we come back, we'll look ahead to this weekend. The Huskies and the Cougars are coming to town, and the Jimmy Anderson Show will continue. Let's take a quick look at the Pac-10 standings here as we set up the 7th week of conference action as we wave goodbye to Arizona. They're up to number 4 now in the poll this week, and I'm impressed how well they played in conference. You always expect a team to lose somewhere along the line to a rival. They still might, but they've really held their spot well atop, and everyone is still in there with the exception of Stanford and Oregon.
Well, I'm surprised too. I thought Arizona would have a couple losses at this particular time of the schedule. But you can see the cluster in the middle, and anybody still in that mid-group all the way down to the two you mentioned, Stanford and Oregon, has a chance really still to surface as number 2, 3, or 4 in the conference.
And again, 2 of those teams coming this way this weekend. We'll talk about the Huskies here first as we get a scouting report from assistant coach Larry Harris.
Let's look at one of Washington's plays that they'll be running this Saturday. What they'll do is they'll take number 44 and flash up. Point guard with the ball will try to hit him. As that's done, number 15 will run a back door all the way across and through. Looking for a double screen here, and coming through and ending up here. As he passes the ball, he's going to cut off also if 15 doesn't get it. Looking for the back door. If that's not open, then he'll dribble it and try to hit 15 for the jump shot. How we'll defend this, obviously, is step back in as the ball's thrown and cut off the back door by number 15. Looking to do exactly the same at number 25. Looking at help from both of our big men just in case his back door is open. Once that's contested, we'll piggyback number 15 through, and as he catches the ball, we'll look at contesting the jump shot. And as long as we do all those things, we'll be fine.
There you go. You heard it from the horse's mouth. Let's talk about the Cougars. They're the up first on Thursday night. They've made their move into second place right now at 7-4, and of course we saw how good they can be the first time, our first game up there in Pullman.
There's Kelvin orchestrating again. This is a big win for them, beating Arizona State by 30 points. Their Seltzer, he's having a great year. What a great little leader he is for them. Harris has been instrumental in a lot of their big wins. Hendrickson is one of the freshmen, considered to be maybe with Jason Kidd as the two top freshmen in the league. They have fine talent, and they're a very, very outstanding team.
Well, we'll start the weekend out with them here. The Cougars Thursday night, the Huskies Saturday. We'll see you back here next week on The Jimmy Anderson Show.
This is the Jimmy Anderson Show, the weekly report on Oregon State University basketball.
Hi, everybody. I'm Bob Acami, and along with the coach, welcome to this week's edition of the Jimmy Anderson Show. It's February, and we are riding the roller coaster with Oregon State basketball, the high of a heroic last-second victory over Washington State, and then the low of a tough defeat to Washington, all of it at home.
Well, there's no question about that. We had hopes of winning both games this weekend and staying in that second spot. We got the first part of it. And then you have to give University of Washington lots of credit because they came in with a game plan that was very sound, took control of the tempo. They shot 71% from the first half and got a good lead on us, and they just persevered and showed some real character. And I don't think it's demeaning of a coach of his own program if he gives credit to another coach in their team, and I just think they did a nice job. We fought back. I thought we did a gallant effort of getting within one under the circumstances of how the hole was pretty deep, and we came up short.
The season slate now stands at 11 up, 11 down, 7-6 in the conference, and you end up splitting with both of the Washington schools for the year. Let's talk about Washington State first, obviously. Thursday night's game, they beat you in a close game up in Pullman. You got them back down in Corvallis and got a chance to return the favor.
Well, you always like to, once you get beat by one team, you always like to get back at them the second time, and we have quite a rivalry. Our players seem to, I don't know whether there's a little electricity in the air there, but they get after each other very, very well on the floor, and I hope that's where they keep it. But it was a close game. We got a good bounce at the end where a hoop didn't go in. If we recall, we've lost a couple by that way this year, so we finally got a good bounce that went our way.
Yeah, there really have been too many close games. Let's roll the highlights from Thursday night. Washington State at Gio Coliseum. Kelvin Sampson bringing his Cougars back into town, and Scott Haskin got busy. He had a tough night up at Pullman with Corcoran all over him. Corcoran did not play because of an injury, and Scotty blocked 5 shots, did a good job underneath.
Well, here they're in a zone, and that's been a little bit of our nemesis because when they flatten out the zone and make it difficult for us to get it inside, we have to hit from the perimeter. And we're working the ball, I think, at times very well, but a lot of times it's forced, and then we miss some shots from the perimeter, and that really hurts you against zone defenses. There's a nice defensive move by Mustafa Hoff. But it was a good, hard-fought game. I think it was an entertaining game.
There's one of them passes. Brent Berry, Scott Haskin. It's a 5-point lead. Now we'll get Scotty again on the defensive end. Another block, number 161. Thank you very much for the record books. And watch Brent Berry at the other end. Gets up very high. Unfortunately, this is an offensive foul.
Well, unfortunately, he had 3 or 4 of those in the game, and what he has to learn is once he goes into the orange area in our Coliseum, that he has to be a little more better on his judgment as when he has to stop, when he has to swerve a little bit, and not just plow over people.
Washington State in transition, they love to get it out and move with it. Hill takes it in for a layup. An 8-point lead, 9-point lead early, gets a little closer here. Scotty with another block shot, but Washington State can't do much offensively, and despite a 5-minute drought, you're still hanging on to the lead here just before halftime. There's Chad Scott with a slam tip. And then a guy who came off the bench and played pretty well in both games this weekend, Kareem Anderson, finding his touch. He'll get a follow-up here deep.
That's a good hustle move, and that's what we need out of Kareem, is use his athletic ability as a complete player, scramble for loose balls, get rebounds, and do a little bit of everything.
It's a 4-point lead at halftime. Second half action, it's a real battle. Both teams start getting hot, especially from the outside. Three-pointers, a very big part of both these teams' offenses. Cougars did not shoot well, but they hit some threes to get themselves back in it.
Well, I think our defense actually was pretty sound from start to finish. Their defense is also a hustling defense. Shots like that usually goes down for them because he was in the open. But we made some nice plays down the stretch. But they had us on the go for a while, and Mustafa Hoff makes a nice play there.
That ties it back up, 46-all. We're getting into the final 10 minutes. Big play here. Lots of action underneath, a lot of contact. Ferguson draws there for a 3-point play, and just a little bit of chippy play in the second half. There's one on our end with Kareem drawing the foul.
Well, like you said, he had a very good game in both nights, and I hope that he just keeps getting better and better. He's flattened out his shot a little bit, and when he pushes it up, he makes some very, very good shots, and he's getting better in his overall game.
Good defensive play there by Kareem, forces the turnover. Now here's the game-winning basket for OSU. Mustafa Hoff makes it 59-57 with 2 minutes left. Now it's time to play a little defense. Cougars come up with a free throw, making it a 1-point game. Haskins steps out for another block shot, and now we come down to the last play. Cougars down 1. Here's how it ended.
Well, we knew in our huddle that Seltzer or Harris or Hill, one of the three perimeter people would be taking it. We guessed it would be Seltzer. You can see the bounce there, and then the rebound by Scott Haskins. So it was a good win for us and a devastating loss for them.
It was that close. The first time it hops up, looks like it's going to fall right back down, but it catches the rim the second time and it falls off. And I know you've had a couple get away that way this year, so you didn't mind at all.
No, we were very happy about that, and we thought this would kind of boomerang us into a situation with Washington. And like I said at the beginning of the program, all of a sudden Washington comes up with a good game plan, plays one of their best games of the season. I'm sure their coach will say that.
Take a look at the stats here. Individually, your leader is Scott Haskin. He ends up with 19 points and 13 rebounds. Chad Scott had a dozen. Hendrickson and Hill each have 12 points. So that's Thursday, and it sets us up for Saturday's game. When we come back, we'll take a look at the Huskies and the Beavers as the Jimmy Anderson Show continues. Okay, you can send all the small children out of the room now. We're going to show highlights of the Husky game from Saturday night and take those first 4 minutes. I'm sure that was a little unsettling for a coach as they score the first 10 points of the game.
Well, it was very unsettling because we've had a little bit of history of that this year, getting poor starts, and this was no different than some of the other games in the season. We have 7 possessions and no points, 3 turnovers, 4 missed shots, relatively easy, good shots from the offense, and nothing goes down, and all of a sudden Washington has control, gets into a control-type tactic on half court and makes us play very, very hard, and at halftime we're down.
Well, let's roll them. The first half starts out here again with the Huskies coming up with the first 10 points of the game. The Beavers get very little going on offense and also turn the ball over a couple of times.
Well, see, here's one of the turnovers here, and this is right at the start of the game, and they get a couple here on a putback by Pope,